I'll never forget the night our backyard turned into a scene straight out of a drama flick. It was supposed to be a quiet celebration for my mom's 70th birthday, a milestone I'd spent weeks planning to make special. But when those red and blue lights started flashing outside, everything flipped upside down, and what should have been a sweet memory became a neighborhood showdown that had everyone talking. My mom, Eleanor, had been through a rough year since Dad passed. She hadn't wanted to celebrate much of anything, but I knew 70 deserved something warm and heartfelt. Nothing wild, just family, a few of her closest friends, some homemade lasagna, and her favorite jazz tunes humming softly from a little speaker on the patio table. I dotted every I and crossed every T to follow our Homeowners Association's ridiculous rules. Trust me, VYing in this neighborhood for 5 years taught me how to navigate their playbook. Our HOA was notorious, a mini dictatorship run by none other than Margaret Hensley, though everyone just called her Maggie, the queen of petty complaints. Maggie had been HOA president for 3 years, turning what could have been a friendly community group into her personal empire. She'd send warning letters over the tiniest things. My mailbox was 2 inches too tall, my wind chimes disrupted the aesthetic, and once she even photographed my cousin's car parked on the street overnight. Last month, she went after the Thompsons next door because their 8-year-old daughter's giggles were too loud at 2 p.m. on a Saturday. The woman was relentless. So for Mom's party, I played it safe. I got the HOA event permit, kept the guest list to 15, and planned to wrap up by 7 p.m., well before the 9 p.m. noise curfew. I even dropped courtesy notes in every neighbor's mailbox, inviting them to swing by if they wanted. The party was perfect for about 2 hours. Mom's friends, all retirees in their 60s and 70s, were swapping stories, laughing over old memories, and nibbling on cake. The jazz was so soft you could barely hear from the back of the yard. Then I noticed Maggie on her porch across the street, phone in hand, pacing like a hawk. Every few minutes, she'd stop, snap a photo, or record a video of us. My sister, Clara, whispered she's up to something. I brushed it off, hoping she'd get bored. But by hour 3, Maggie had crept to the edge of her lawn, close enough for us to hear her muttering about rude neighbors and blatant violations. When my Uncle Joe cracked a joke that got everyone chuckling, Maggie pounced. "That's a noise violation," she yelled across the street, her voice slicing through our chatter. "You're disturbing the peace." Mom's smile faded, and her friends looked rattled. I excused myself and walked to the fence, trying to keep things civil. "Maggie," I said as calmly as I could, "we're within the noise limits, and we've got a permit. Everyone's vying by 7. Is something bothering you?" Her face turned red. "Don't Maggie me," she snapped. "It's Mrs. Hensley, and I don't care about your permit. I can hear you from inside my house with the windows closed." That was a flat-out lie. The music was barely a murmur, but arguing with her was like wrestling a brick wall. "I'm sorry you feel that way," I said, forcing a smile. "If you need to file a complaint, you know the HOA process. We're just celebrating my mom's 70th. For a second, Maggie seemed thrown off by my cool response. She wanted to fight, and I wasn't vying her one. "We'll see about that," she shouted, storming back to her house. This isn't over. I figured she'd write another nasty letter and call it a day. I was wrong. 20 minutes later, Mom was about to blow out her candles when a police cruiser rolled up. 2 officers stepped through our side gate, and every fork froze midair. Across the street, Maggie stood on her porch, arms crossed, smirking like she'd just won the lottery. "I called 911, she announced, loud enough for the whole block to hear. "This unlawful noise has been going on for hours, and someone had to enforce the rules." Mom clutched her cardigan, mortified, while her friends exchanged baffled looks. The officers scanned the yard, clearly confused. One of them, a younger guy with a raised eyebrow, leaned toward the speaker and had to bend down to catch the faint Ella Fitzgerald tune. "Sir," the older officer said to me, his tone polite but puzzled, "we got an emergency call about excessive noise at this address, loud music, shouting, possible intoxication disturbing the neighborhood." I almost laughed but caught myself when I saw his face. "Officer, This is my mom's 70th birthday party, I said, gesturing to Eleanor, who looked like she wanted to disappear. 15 guests, mostly retirees. The music's been like this all day, and we've got an HOA permit. The younger officer grinned as he straightened up from the speaker. This is the loud music? He asked, glancing at his partner. Before I could answer, Maggie marched across the street and into our yard. Are you shutting this down or not? She demanded, her voice now the loudest thing around. I've documented multiple violations, and I expect you to enforce the law. The older officer turned to her. Ma'am, you called 911? Yes, I did, Maggie said, puffing up. As HOA president, it's my duty to maintain order. The officer's eyes narrowed. Did you report this as an emergency with excessive noise and possible intoxication? Maggie hesitated, glancing at our quiet group. Well, yes, she said. It was loud earlier. They must have turned it down when they saw you. Just then, our neighbor, Mr. Lopez, who lived 2 doors down, walked over. He'd skipped the party to catch up on work, but must have seen the police lights. Officers, he said, holding up his phone. I've been in my home office all afternoon with the window open. There's been no noise from this party. I got security cameras with audio that cover the street. I checked the footage when I saw you pull up, and it shows the noise was reasonable all day. The senior officer nodded and stepped aside with Lopez to re-VYEW the VY Deo. The younger officer pulled me aside. The 911 call was flagged as high priority, he said quietly. The caller said there was screaming, loud music shaking the street, and potentially drunk people getting threatening. That's why we're here. I was floored. Officer, nothing like that happened. You can see for yourself. He nodded, glancing at the group of gray-haired guests sipping iced tea. When Lopez and the senior officer returned, the officer's face was stone cold. Ms. Hensley, he called. Maggie strutted over, still acting like she owned the place. Mr. Lopez has footage, the officer said. Not only does it show no excessive noise, but it also catches you on your porch 40 minutes ago on the phone. He paused, letting the tension build. Want to know what you said? Maggie's face went white. You're heard saying, one call to 911 about a noise emergency, and I'll shut their party down. I'll show them who runs this street. Care to explain? That's out of context. Maggie stammered, her voice cracking. They've been a nuisance all day. They're breaking HOA rules. The officer cut her off. Misusing emergency SARE VYCES is a serious offense, Ms. Hensley. Filing a false police report is a crime. We diverted resources from real emergencies for this. Maggie's bravado crumbled. I was just doing my job, she cried. They don't respect authority. The younger officer stepped forward, radio in hand. Ms. Hensley, hands behind your back. Her jaw dropped. You can't be serious, she shrieked. I'm the VY Tim. They're conspiring against me. But the cuffs clicked on, and the officer read her rights as she wailed about lawsuits and HOA violations. We watched, stunned, as Maggie was led to the cruiser, still yelling about her neighborhood. The car pulled away, and Mom's friend started whispering, half shocked, half relieved. 2 weeks later, we got word Maggie had been charged with filing a false report and misusing 9/11 misdemeanors that came with a $2,500 fine and 6 months probation. The judge wasn't impressed with her history of fake complaints. The HOA board held an emergency meeting and booted her as president. When Maggie slunk back home after court, I was grabbing my mail. She stepped out of her car, clutching court papers, her face a mix of shock and defeat. For the first time ever, Maggie Hensley had nothing to say. That night left our street buzzing. Was Maggie just a control freak, or did she genuinely believe she was protecting the neighborhood? Should we have VY Ted her over to defuse things, or was she too far gone? What would you have done if you were in my shoes, reason with her, or let her dig her own grave? And here's the big one. Was her punishment fair, or did the system go too hard on her? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button if you felt the drama, and subscribe for more wild neighborhood stories. Let's get this debate going.